Hi there, Claire Downham, Queen of Calm, Transformational Life Coach with the Calm Cast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. And a few days ago I posted some pictures of people's faces. They were in columns. You can go back and look at my profile to see that, but I posted these pictures and they were showing people's emotions, and I cut off the information at the bottom that told you what feelings those people were supposed to be feeling in the pictures. And they were actual real, they weren't animations, they were actually people's, they weren't drawings, they were people's real faces. And I got a whole range of answers. I asked people to say A, B, C and D, what feelings they thought each row of people, each column of people were feeling. And I got a whole range of different responses. And I'd been thinking about this for a little while, this thing about reading other people, because it seemed to make sense to me for a long time to do that, to read other people. And I guess it's part of human nature. And I remember when I was a teacher, I used to be not a primary school teacher, I was then a special needs coordinator, so I helped to coordinate all the care and education stuff for the children who had special needs. And then I was a head teacher, so heavily involved in primary education for 20 years. And I remember working with children who were struggling to read human feelings. So they may be children on the autistic spectrum, for example. And we would do these activities with them where we would show them these caricature pictures of people's faces with, you know, a ridiculously smiley face, and we'd say that was a happy person, and then, you know, really sad face, really dramatically downturned face, like emojis kind of thing. That's what a person looks like when they're sad. And I wonder if that's when we start teaching children, you know, where do we learn to read people's faces and attribute an emotion? And what's just coming to me now is that we don't just learn to attribute an emotion. We tell a story. We perhaps tell the story of why that person is feeling the way they're feeling. We might tell a story about what it's got to do with us. You know, how that feeling the person is feeling is directed towards us in some way, shape or form. You know, just like it is with our own feelings, it's not the experience of the feeling in somebody else's face, it's what we make that mean. And quite often that is to do with what they're thinking. We think we know that by looking at somebody's face, we know what they're thinking. And I remember one example quite a few years ago now, must have been at least 18 months ago, because it was regarding a physical networking event, and a lady who posted on social media somewhere saying that she went to networking events where there were men present, and where she went into the heavily male-dominated environments, she could tell by the looks on people's faces what they thought about her being there as a woman. And I briefly backed off fairly quickly, but I briefly got involved in the conversation about this, about how, you know, and I challenged it. Even back then I didn't know what I know now about how the mind works, but I even then kind of could see that, well, you can't really know what somebody's thinking by looking at their face, can you? And I you know, I replied to this lady and said, surely you can't know what that person's thinking. Now I have to say that in the context of this particular post, there were lots of other women agreeing. There were lots of other women agreeing that they had been to events and they felt that the look on the men's faces was, you shouldn't be here kind of thing. But we absolutely cannot know that. First of all, we can't know what other people are thinking. And wow, does that remove some stuff from our heads? Straight away, you don't know. You don't have to make up a story. You don't have to invent something. It's all made up. if you were, it would be made up. You just can't know. And the other thing to know is that if you're perceiving a thought in somebody else's head, there's only one place that really comes from. Your head. It just doesn't come from their head. And when we are, as business owners, interacting with other people, we're interacting in so many different relationships. We're clients of some people. We want other people to be our clients, or they are our clients. We have relationships with suppliers. We have relationships with people in our network. We have all sorts of relationships, and as we get back into that physical space of being in rooms with people, very excitingly, I'm going to do that on Friday, actually go to a real life networking event, as opposed to, I guess, what's just coming to me now, I'm just, stuff's coming to me, it all just comes through me, not from me, is that when we're on a Zoom screen, people's faces don't really have the same. We're less likely to make it about us, aren't we? Because if there's 10 faces on a screen and somebody's pulling an expression, we won't connect that to us in quite the same way, because that expression could be to do with somebody else on the screen, or we're tending to know that people have got other things going on in the background. So perhaps we're not doing as much people reading at the moment, although probably we are still. But when we get back into that physical space, we'll be back into that kind of role of thinking we can read other people and that we know what they're thinking. And when it comes to other people, half the time they won't even know what they were thinking anyway. Like if you ask them later, when you were at that thing and you had that right look on your face, what were you thinking? They'll go, not a clue. Mostly they'll go, not a clue, because they will have forgotten, because that thinking will have passed on. Can you imagine if you went through life and never, ever, ever tried to work out what other people were thinking ever again? And practically in the world, if you want to, there are better things to do. Ask them how they're feeling. It's a good place to start, isn't it? Imagine if we all asked how somebody was feeling rather than assuming. Because going back again to that stuff with the children, we're teaching the child that this means happy, but that is not happy, is it? That's me. I'm telling you now, that's me doing a slightly sarcastic smile, bit of a grimace thrown in for good measure. That's not me smiling. That's not me happy. But traditionally, that looks like happiness, doesn't it, to lots of people? And this can look like grumpiness, but that might be just me thinking really hard about something, or concentrating, or not really understanding what you're saying, or whatever. Other people are going to happen around you all the time, and there's something quite cool about having a different relationship with that happening. When a thought about somebody else's expression pops into your head, well, listen to the phrase, pops into your head. It's not manufactured in your head, but appears, generated by the energy of life. Appears in your head, pops into your head. It's not yours anyway. And you kind of have a choice at that point. It's a bit like, I don't know, if you did Tinder ever, I did. I've got a shiny ring. Eventually, after a lot of Tinder people who I never would have accepted a shiny ring from, now I've got a lovely man who I'm very happy with. Anyway, that's to one side. But thinking about somebody else's expression on the face will pop into your head sometimes. But you can swipe left. You don't have to engage with that. You can just go, oh, there's a thought about somebody else's expression and what that means. I don't have to hang on to that. I don't have to make a story up about that. I don't have to make it mean something about me. There is a moment in time when we can bring some awareness to knowing that we're not the thoughts. We're not the thoughts, we're the thinker. That's right. Get that the right way around. And that, we're the awareness. and just bringing some awareness to that can be really powerful. So that's been my my thoughts on thinking today. and what's going on in people's heads is none of our business, it turns out. So I hope you found that helpful. This has been the Calmcast, a time to feel calm, think clearly, and I'm Claire Downham, Queen of Calm, Transformational Life Coach. Thank you so much for listening, and take care.